cream powder milk is there. Oh, people are showing up. And Shelby's there. And it looks like Anna's there. And there's Trevor. Imagine that. Alright. So, everybody, welcome to the Chasing Legends thing where we kind of wrap up on the episodes we released the prior week. Hey, I think that was hey Shelby, and I'm going to try not to mess with this thing too much as I try to catch people going on here and see what's going on. So, and Gerard, hey, how's it going? And I see, yeah, a lot of people loading up there. Wow, okay. Jerry, what's up? And try to wait till I catch everybody's name because I don't think everybody hears me when I see them scroll that they're watching. Cody, what's up? And we're going to get through all these. Connie, hey, what's up? And we just keep kind of greeting everybody. Frankie, how's it going? And I look over and see myself. Two things we decided to do differently, obviously. Oh, hey, Christine, how's it going? And I don't know if I'm missing anyone. Trevor will let me know. He's over here on my right. But anyhow, we moved things around so I'm not looking at myself no more because that was very distracting watching the delay of watching myself. And secondly, while there's a little bit light in my eyes, I think the lighting's better over here. So we'll see how that works. Hey, Jody, what's up? So episode 1, season 3, or however you want to look at it, YouTube stuff. The second season of the YouTube stuff. Don't be messing with my lighting. Well, yeah, but then you're going to change the lighting on the camera. See, this is how professional we are. Yeah, but then you're going to completely adjust. What do you mean?
Just need to close the blinds.
Is it too light on what you're seeing with me?
Just.
Is it because
this side of your face is
I'm glowing? Hey, I don't know. I saw Cubs update. Cubs win in bottom of the 9th. Walk-off home run, Rizzo. I was like real hesitant. I was going to throw my Cubs hat on for today. Hey, Frankie. And hey, Adar, saw that you were watching. And what happened was they were trailing 6-4, and I decided I was not going to put my Cubs hat on because I was absolutely fearful that I would jinx myself, and if I can't even mention it. So thank you for the update. So yeah, it kind of fell into that spot where it was the bottom of the 8th and running into the 9th, and I was setting up for this, so I didn't get to see the game. But so we're here to talk about the episode that just ran last Friday. Hope a lot of you watched it. There was a little problem with YouTube where there was a couple periods during a couple days. I know, hey Diane, how's it going? A lot of people watched it, but we didn't get any view counts, and I even asked Trevor about it because I told him we're stuck at this, nothing's happening, what's going on? That's because almost everything we have on YouTube gets a view or 2 or 3 every single day. So it's just illogical that something just new put out with 1,000 subscribers wouldn't see anything. I don't know what happened, but we had a bit of a problem there. Hey, Jimmy, I'm trying to catch up to people as I go. And that was Diane. Okay, I think I might be caught up. And if I missed you, just say hello again, because I didn't mean to miss you. Anyhow, so we don't know what was going on with that. A little lower view count than we usually get, but that's just the way it goes. Anyhow, so, and those little things I always mention that no one finds particularly interesting, but is always good to know. YouTube doesn't count the success of any of its videos or the content in views. Its number one thing is minutes watched. So we get X amount of views and this and that, but on the channel, we're well over 1 million minutes in views and so forth. So it's that content. I don't know if we actually show the minutes, total minutes. We show our views, we show the subscriptions. So you can look and see how many total views we have and total subscribers, because we're never going to hide anything. We're not making anything off it, and we don't really care what anyone thinks one way or the other of it. But a lot of places will hide all their numbers because they go out and they spend money and they buy views and stuff. And I don't know how the views work on minutes, but you would see a huge, like, I have 1 million views on this video, 100 subscribers, and this many minutes watched. And usually those people get in trouble eventually, or they have to stop doing it because they get warned or a strike. We're not interested in that. It doesn't matter to us. One of the things we're going to work on tonight, and we don't know, and it's just kind of one of those Can't promise, but you'll see it post up if it can, as there are people that have difficulties with the YouTube situation and all this. They live on their phone, they don't have the app for some reason of the YouTube. So what we will be doing is Trevor will be attempting to see, because it's based on how much it'll accept. Hey, what's up, Dinger Allen? So I take it you're still in Facebook jail for the time being. How long does that last? When do you get out? Do you have bologna for lunch every day? Hey, okay, Michael's joining in. Anyhow, we're hoping Trevor will be able to load the whole episode and have the episode on Facebook as well. So to us, as we've developed a YouTube audience, and I know a lot of you might want to go to YouTube and watch it and support it over there, but we don't have a problem because we're not taking, hi, finally found you live again. Hey, Kim. We're not trying to make money off this, so it doesn't matter if we have 1,000 views on YouTube and 1,000 views on Facebook, and someone else is thinks they're competing with us, because usually everybody else is marketing or trying to find some way to market, promote, or do something like that. Talk about the Peralta stones. Anything new? No, they're still sitting there in the museum in that little case and stuff, and they sit there all the time. There is some new stuff, and I'm not going to talk about it currently on the Peralta stones. We'll save that up for later, waiting to see how some things behind the scenes and what's happening with some people is playing out. So, saltines and chocolate water when you're Facebook jail. There you go. 30 days. 30 days. Well, you've done about a week of it, a week and a half of it. So there you go. Anyhow, so that kind of tells you a little bit about the using. Hey, Terry, what's up? And kind of, the reasoning we do what we do, a little bit behind it. It's people like the show and so forth. So if you go from 2 million people to 2,000 people, it's not a big deal to us if people really enjoy this. And there's prospecting groups and metal detecting groups, and there are people just like to be outdoors, and there's people that can't. And for the people that can't go out and do this or see this, that's kind of part of the promotion too, is they get to kind of live in it a little bit. Again, as I've described before, is when we film, we go out, and we might go out 15, 20 times. As we work stuff through and look to edit and kind of fill in spots and stuff, how hot is it today? I don't know. I haven't looked. It's probably about 108, 110. It was supposed to be 111 high. We're going to get a temperature update any moment now. So, and he'll say it, because we have the technology. I don't have an earpiece. So, okay. It's 111. 111s. One's all the way across the board. So, this season, what you'll see a lot of times is pairings, which we did last season. You'll see it, is where you'll see a day or two, and you'll see whatever we were doing, you'll see it paired up into a 1 and 2, like an A and B, 1A, 1B. And then you'll see the next episode, which both pieces will go together. And we kind of did that, I think, with the Woody stuff. It was spread out of a solo hike of mine. Hey, Shane, what's up? And you saw it coupled with some stuff with Woody over a couple different episodes. And that's sometimes because you want to tell the story that way, and you have other things to fill in. The other problem is, how far do you go? I know last year we did a couple that were around an hour or so long. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Susan from West Virginia. How you guys doing? So the problem becomes, how long do you make it? You look at hey, Randy, and I'm going to talk about Randy in a second. But so just keep watching, Randy. I'm going to drop your name even more. But you want people to view things, and if you're averaging 15 to 20 minutes and it's an hour, and I know we have content that's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, so still we know people are watching things. But when something's an hour on YouTube, there's going to be someone's going to walk in the room, or they got to get back to work after lunch, and you're losing people, and they're not watching all the content. They may not get back to it. So because of the thought of that and the worry of that, we wanted to cut things down. Hey, Randy. So Randy, we're going to drop Randy's name here a few times. One of the reasons we've been in the area we've been, and while we've found traces of copper, gold, silver, was because of all the outstanding reasons of what you saw in the original series, the first season that was on History Channel. But Randy and Wright and I were, who's here, and I should bring Randy on, but he's not going to want to be on. He would, no, I don't think he'd want to try to explain this. But there was a gentleman by the name, you can look him up, Mitch Waite. And Mitch tried to contact both me and Randy at different times, and he really wanted us to go out. He was trying to get Randy to go out at times, out to Horse Mesa and stuff. And sorry to hear about Trixie. She was 12, your best friend. I'm sure Trixie was a dog, maybe. So sorry to hear that. But he really pushed us. Now, Mitch moved on, and he was doing kind of the Sasquatch Bigfoot thing towards the end, but he wrote a number of publications on the Superstition Mountains, very active in a lot of things. The problem was he never told Randy and I exactly what it was he was looking for. He never said, oh, I found some neat arastras or some stuff you guys want to see. I'm not quite sure what to think of it. Or he didn't really have anything he kind of told either one of us specifically about. He just wanted to take us out there. I was never sure what the end game on it was. Mitch seemed to be a pretty nice guy. I know there was a lot of people that miss him now. He passed away a couple years ago now, I believe. But yeah, he seemed to be pretty well respected by a number of people. And it's unfortunate that Randy and I, both of us together or individually, were able to really get out there with him. And I know Randy probably regrets it too, because it's always nice in the after effect of like to know what was it the guy wanted. And that was probably a period, evening Vicky. I think Randy and I both were very much being drawn to by a number of different people. Mitch was one, but there were several people that really wanted us to work on the Fish Creek, Horse Mesa, Black Cross Butte area. And we were kind of starting to kind of roll that way, but we were also working on several other projects in areas of the mountains. Yeah, that's right, Randy. Yeah. So the two of us were spending a significant amount of time in the mountains in certain areas, and then all these people were drawing us out to this other area. And one of the reasons when you see that second season of History Channel was because I really wanted to explore that area and put that time in of some of those things. And Bob Shoes kind of wanted to work with us and thought that was a good idea. And that's how that all went that way. But that was the direction. Now, it makes more sense is that, and there's a lot of reasons when you watch that original first season, is that you hear me at that one point mention Randy Wright and his passing. It was simply because it was my way to interject Randy's name in. I wouldn't have done the show if it hadn't been for Randy. He caught me running home on the freeway one night and literally for about an hour just badgered me about doing an interview, being on the show. He told me the two of us got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. So he badgered me all the way down the freeway as I was coming back from the East Valley home, probably about 8, 9 o'clock at night from work. I'd worked like a 16, 17-hour day. He wore me down, convinced me, we're going to do this, come on, you got to do this. So I finally said, okay, you know what, I'll call him up, I'll do an interview, which I had to do on lunch break the next day or two. Anyhow, when we went to film, they decided, for whatever reasons, time, this constraint, anything else, and Randy said he wouldn't have really been able to do it because of the scheduling and so forth, but they just didn't decide to move on with Randy. Now the problem a little bit was they were trying to, because of the context of what they wanted to do, they had to kind of put someone in Randy's position, and that was kind of really silly too. So rather than just have him somehow involved, rather than have Randy involved, they just decided to replace him, and that was kind of sad. So that was why I dropped his name. One, because they hadn't utilized or worked him into the show, and I knew they really weren't going to pay attention to the names I dropped, and so I knew I could just slip it in and boom, and it would fall into place. And I'm sure he was both thrilled and petrified to find out. His family was probably looked over at him. Hey Wade, what's up? So that being that, but that also was in context of we were in the area that we were going to be moving into, and we wanted to do some searching in, and I kind of felt that was the right thing to do in a way. Additionally, of course, we're talking about all this, and I'm bringing a lot of this up, is because we were up on Coronado Mesa. And I know that was an area Randy really enjoyed. I remember he had a trip up on Coronado Mesa, and he called me and was talking about it and wanted to really get up there and all. And we ended up driving ourselves back more into the central mountains right after that. He'd made that trip. So when we did that, actually, I was, hey, Jim, what's up? I actually was thinking of Randy when Frank and myself and the boys were walking across the ridge and working our way across the top of Coronado Mesa. And I thought, it's been how many years? 8, 9, 10 years ago that Randy called me and was like, hey, dude, we need to get up here. And you wouldn't believe the view and all this. And we were talking on the phone about it. So to me, that was kind of interesting in context of he was the person that kind of got me thinking, after all these people, what's going on? We're talking all about the show. So, but he helped get me involved in this whole thing. We had a partnership for years, which I still consider existent when he gets his kids grown up. And if we're not too old, well, even if we're too old, we'll move much slower in the mountains. But the idea was, he needs to be a part of somehow as things moved on. And we've still encouraged. And if, he's got the little ones, he's got that, the younger kid thing going now where he just can't break off, real life intervenes in. And, he just can't get out in the mountains like he did. Frank and I have always had an open invitation to getting him to come out, and we will get him to come out sometime with us because it's only fitting and proper. I was fighting to the very bitter end that when we negotiated with History Channel, I talked to Bill Costanzo, and I told him, if nothing else, we have to have Randy somewhere in the second season. Even if it's we go to Greg Davis's research room or something and I run into him there. It had to be something because it was just only right. It just seemed fitting because I always wanted everyone that I have to acknowledge that I've learned from. And hey, Nancy. Okay, so Nancy's telling Terry to say hi to me. But you always want to acknowledge those people, which is the reason we acknowledge Tom and Jack and Clay and Bob and George Johnston, and there was very important people, and there's some people that didn't want to be a part. And like I said again, in the second season, Randy Wright was very much on our minds. Rick Gwynn was. I was going to, even if I had to, trick him, Greg Davison, Jack Carlson, because I thought all these people needed. It wasn't about them selling a book or anything else. It was simply about all these people that are involved around me in this being part of that. So anyhow, so that's all that. So we got these episodes right out. You see that one, we're up on Coronado Mesa, and particularly, I don't know why we didn't have as much film, and I have no idea. I thought we were filming more. That was one steep climb when we initially hit and went up the mesa. We picked probably the steepest spot. I don't know why, but we went around and hit just literally this vertical straight up spot with all this loose rock and dirt, and we shot up that. Now, it was probably because it seemed like a particular straight up quick point just to get up there. It was a gasser, and we were discussing of trying to skirt or what we wanted to do. We'd not have been able to make it up to the top, but we were literally just hitting that vertical straight up, and you can tell the one piece that I know we have, and it's Trevor, tell me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there more footage? There has to be more footage of us going up there, Frank off doing stuff or something as we were making the ascent. There has to be more footage. Maybe it was redundant. Maybe it was redundant and repeated itself. But, yeah, we spent a significant time doing that because there were quite a few breaks. We hit the top, and then we made several stops, and then we started working our way across the ridge line. And again, it was that disappointment of looking up the mineralization that make up the mountain. We brought the metal detector just simply so we could see there's not even just the human activity, but the mineralization up through there. And it also gave us a different view, drone-like view, I guess, with optics and everything else we had, of looking through the area at a number of hot spots we had looked at before and spots we were interested in that were a little higher up that were kind of hidden from us from down below. Sometimes there's things you see from above that from down below you don't quite know where they're at. You don't want to kind of make that attempt. Hey, what's up, Chris? So that was kind of the purpose of that trip. Now, what befell was, we go out there, we're doing our thing, and we're coming out of there, and you don't see, but Frank hits the ground, I hit the ground, Tyler hits the ground, and I think you have the one moment where I mentioned to Tyler, it's just like, do it on camera, because literally as I was turning the camera on, he went down, boom, and so by the time you film it, you actually see just he had hit. And it's kind of that joking, but was very loose up there. Just everything on the rock. And it's the same thing I talked about in the previous last year, 2017 stuff. If everyone goes back and looks at it, when I was out by myself, when I was out on the sides of Horse Mesa, it was literally like just would fall apart on me. I was literally, as I stepped, I had to make another step because the ground was just moving constantly off of under me. And because I wasn't going up or down necessarily, I was kind of skirting the mountain about halfway up. It was just giving way and falling apart as I went, so I couldn't really stop. And I think I even mentioned that on camera several times, is I would have to go or even turn the camera off to get to a certain point where it was a little more level, where I could stop for a minute, catch my breath, and relax, because each time I started again, I got back into that, the ground giving way underneath me. So that was that. And he's over there typing away. I don't know what he's Googling. He's Googling something. It's almost professional now. I don't see Woody or Frank or anybody popping in either, which is a shame, but they knew, and I was hoping they would, but maybe I got to remind them next time. But anyway, this is good to talk about this in between, and because I don't like to pre-load up the next episode. But it was very interesting as we were coming down, and everybody had fallen. Of course, you know, the time you usually get hurt isn't the going in, when you're kind of like waiting to see new stuff. It's usually when you're coming out. You kind of get in a hurry. You already have other things on the plate, things on your agenda. You have other things you want to get to. You're thinking, okay, we did this. How much footage do we have? Let's stop by here and hit this too, because we may not use this, but we can use it some other time. Let's, you know, or let's do this or that. Or it could be simply as everybody's in need of a cheeseburger at Tortilla Flat. Sorry, okay, that was for Debbie. So we're making our way out. I don't think we were actually pressing it by any means. I think we were just kind of coming down. We're never in that much of a hurry or trying to run or anything. So what happens next is that ground, and Frank kind of describes it, that stuff is like little roundish rocks and stuff, and it's everywhere. And it looks like it's a driveway because it's the bedrock's exposed because everything's washed out over time. Because you could probably drive through there pretty easily if you could get back up in there. But it's just slippery, and wherever you walk, it's either you're in the stuff that you're just sliding on constantly, or everything's just, you know, you're on these little rollers. And Trevor hit those, and what happened is his leg kind of extended out in front of him. Now, we were totally fortunate that he, for whatever reason, I mean, I don't know if he would do it the same way again, he basically grabbed all the gear and held the gear and got his arms around in front of him and just went down his butt, keeping his head up. Because the greater fear is on an incline that he would fall, he'd smack his head into the rock, which would have been very bad, or, you know, the brand new gear we bought, the audio setup, the microphone, the camera, everything else would have been damaged. So we got so lucky, even though he did mess up his ankle and he couldn't put really any weight on it. And it hurt. Trust me, I know it hurt some. I've watched this kid take foul balls off of baseball bats to the helmet, into the shoulders. I've watched him in 110-degree heat saying, no, just leave me in. I'll catch another game. I've watched him take quite a beating. You know, there's plenty of times kids took back swings and that bat came flying around and hit him in the back of the head. And you know what? I've watched him literally, probably with heat stroke and a concussion, beg me to go back in the game. When he's down there saying that, I know it hurts. I know it has to hurt. And I don't think I ever had to pull you out of a game for injury in 10 years. And that's saying a lot. I mean, someday maybe I'll tabulate it up, but he's caught a lot of games and a lot of double headers, and that's an amazing thing, especially in Arizona. So I'm not going to doubt his toughness, and I knew he didn't probably break anything from the way I figured it was extended, and his Achilles or something like that got screwed up. And the worry is, well, we got to get him to the truck. The biggest fortunate thing for us in that is at least we were down off the mountain, and everybody will have to see how everything else plays out after that. But yeah, you know, unfortunately that was one of those things that set us back again on filming, because hey Susan, and oh, that was okay, saying hi, I just head. But anyways, so that was one of those things that set us back. And then of course there was the influenza, which I think Trevor, Tyler, and Frank all ended up with January, February, and March, and everybody ended up with off and on cases of the flu, so we couldn't go out. And then Trevor had his surgery, and that was just really tough because the optimum time to go in the mountains Hey, Susan. Oh, I said hi, Susan. I just looked up. I don't have Trevor to cue me over here anymore. He's laying on the ground. So I pay him the big bucks for this. So anyhow, so that was kind of wrapping into that. Frank was definitely right, and it was something I think we mentioned last year, that we're finding mineralization. There's copper, there's gold, there's silver. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of like everything got thrown up into the mountains, and it's all spread out and speckled through it. And you'll find spots where you see it, where you see some surface stuff that's very small. The thing we were disappointed of was, one, we found no activity, no artifacts, nothing other than, say, this is a lot of hohokam. And that was at the very end when we finally found pottery. That pottery, that was months before we found any pottery in the area, which I thought there would be other signs much more. But the other thing was, everything was 1880s to early 1900s. We were finding the prospecting. Everything we found fit that time period. We weren't finding anything earlier. And that's what we were looking for, as well as lode mining. And there was nothing we found lode mining in there, in those sections. Now, I do mention in one of the interviews is every time, there's only certain access points in the mountains in certain areas. And for every time we go into the mountains, we have to start a spot and cover a spot, and then we got to come out. And then if you see something and go, well, I didn't notice that canyon. Even if you look out on Google Earth, it doesn't look like anything, but that actually is deeper than I thought it was. Check that out. So now we got to cover everything we covered to get back to that spot and hit that spot. I never held any gold. Why not? Go out and find some. It's pretty easy. Get a metal. If you get a metal detector or a pan or find a good spot, hold gold. Yeah, gold's, I don't know if it makes a difference. Gold doesn't really, I think it's neat when people find it. I'm more interested in what's conducive. How do you find it? The vegetation, the different signs and that stuff. To me, it's interesting, kind of that whole, I'm trying to find, let's go. Yeah, Alan. Oh, I messed this up. See here, I'm going to go sideways. Nope. Okay. Hey, Rob, I see you. You're there. Hi, Wayne. How you doing? I never hold any gold. Pennsylvania. Let's go out to Phoenix, Jim. Okay. So now I see what I missed. But to me, it's the chase. And when we're going out and what I learn, that's more important. To me, it's so much more cool when I sit in there, see something, and Frank and I are talking, and we're learning things and looking at an area and say, well, those plants there and the colorization, and see how it's different than this. And hey, Sam, how's it going? When you do that, and then you find more mineralization in that area, something specific, and you go like, hey, I had that. That to me is more exciting, because you're going to find something. And when you find, because that's what you're looking for. What were you looking for? Okay. Looking over my head. It's kind of weird because they have the bubbles of all the people over my head. So I have all these people floating above my head as I'm talking, which is, as it moves and things all change, you notice I don't look quite at the camera, but I look off to the side, which just helps me stay focused on all this. But again, when we're back in the mountains, that's how a lot of that works so much is, and Frank sees one thing, I see another. We're both looking for different things. Frank likes looking at the mineralization, the prospecting, what he generally goes for, and that's cool. What I did with Randy Wright for years was, I knew Randy believed in certain things or had certain attributes, geological knowledge that he had that I didn't have, but I like working with someone that you're not arguing with, and Frank and I don't really argue. We have differences of opinions, and I think we enjoy that interaction, but it helps you think things out. Neither of us are always going to be right, but you need the other person's opinion because it helps work the ideas through, makes you pause sometimes, and it gives you another set of eyes that are looking at something different. Randy and I know I've talked about this before, you used to literally spend days in the mountains where we never spent the same amount of time, and stop and pick me up, Dinger Allen. Somebody wants you to, he's in Facebook jail. He can't leave right now. He's locked up for another 15 days probably. Hey, Laura. But anyways, we would spend time across canyons, and I have photographs, and I'm sure Randy does too, where it's Randy just taking pictures of me across, an eighth of a mile across the canyon, and I'm taking pictures of him. And it's, we would spend the entire day not communicating a lot, take pictures, and then the communication was sending each other pictures and then talking on the phone about everything we saw. Now, if there was something specific we got excited about, then we would meet up and we would talk and kind of work together. So it's not saying we never worked in the same area together, which we did. We stuck our heads down holes, we dropped each other down holes and did things like that. But the idea was for us is to have that different perspective of the set of eyes, and we would be looking over each other, looking over at each other, behind each other as we went up the mountains and see things. And then we could always radio over, hey Randy, check out, you know, over to your left, up behind you over there. It was a great way of working with just two people. Difficulty is always finding that other person to do that with, because that necessarily doesn't happen a lot. You need someone that you can argue with, have a different opinion with, you can spend a long day with. A lot of times nothing happens. You can be annoyed, irritated with each other, you can be hungry, you can be thinking that guy is just a real ass. But you still get in the vehicle and ride home together and have no problem with each other. And I don't think Randy and I ever had an argument or a crossword or anything between the two of us. I don't think, and far as Frank and I, you know, as much as you might hear us complain or bitch or moan about anything else, it's still the same. It's just, no, I still enjoy going out with Frank. I have a good time. I didn't expect it to work that way. Teamwork, baby, it works. That's right, Randy. But that was very exclusive. It's just when you get someone like that, and I think Randy and I were very lucky for, God, 8-10 years off and on of that. It was never the disappointment. It was never an issue of like, oh, you can't go. Well, I'll go. We each went individually, solo. We shared and we did stuff, and we had a great time. And then when we had times, like I said, there were days we spent in the mountains. I don't know if we said that much to each other. Those were awesome days. And there were days that we didn't accomplish much, but talked all day about everything under the sun. And I never forget any of those. I don't know if Randy feels the same, but I can remember specific trips, and it's literally, I could talk for 8 hours about a specific trip, because I think I remember every inch and foot we went through the mountains. And we laughed a lot. I think that was the other thing. Frank and I do joke around and stuff a lot, but Randy and I were just cracking up a lot about everything and anything. We enjoyed ourselves, so that was a big part of that, and I don't think we ever took it too seriously. We liked doing research, we liked pulling stuff, and we liked going over it and everything we did, but it was just, that was always good. So definitely, and thanks for watching today, Randy, as I dropped your name a million times over. So great memories. Yeah, a lot of great memories. So, but yeah, everybody always encouraged Randy to get back out with us, because that would be a good episode, because there was definitely Legend of the Superstition Mountains would have been a whole different type of humor if Randy would have been involved, because Randy and I are definitely going to always play off each other. It's not the same type of thing as me and Frank. It's just two guys. It is definitely Wayne and Garth. It is fun time. And if we're not having fun, then let's do something to make it fun. So we had a lot of fun in the mountains, and years with the rendezvous and all that. So work is a bit slow. So yeah, but Randy, it's 150 degrees out. This is not the time to go out. This is the time when Howard throws you over the horse and brings you back out on the mountains. So there's a story for you. Maybe, you know what, sometime, Randy, maybe we need to bring you in and talk about the Randy escapades, things that happened, because yeah, that was the other thing. Randy, always something happened to Randy. He definitely, yeah, things happened to Randy. So it's kind of like Woody. Woody was kind of that, like Randy a little bit. It's like something's gonna happen to him. You know, something's gonna happen. So I was worried that was gonna be Trevor eventually, but no, he's kind of been immune to the falls and this and that and certain things, and petrified, and I almost died. It is a true story, but it is kind of funny because you lived. So yes, it was definitely, I felt like cussing you out, but you lived, you got out, and everything was fine afterwards. And I'm sure Howard just didn't even take it as serious as he should have at the time. But yeah, it shows, you know. And you ran into a few of those. I mean, when it comes to the close calls of a guy going out when it's too hot or this or that, but he's experienced and should have no issue, but the wrong time, the wrong day, something happens to you, you've had a few of those. And that's good experience for everybody, because I think everybody always forgets that can happen. This year I skipped my annual early July trip into the mountains and video, and you know, it's never for me that it's not that hot you can do it. It's always, I hope there's a day where I can get out and do that in the mountains. And I never want to encourage it, and one of the reasons I didn't do it this year was how hot, dry it was, but I never want to be responsible for someone else saying, well, he did it, I can do it. And that is the adventure. Yep, no fun, then why go? But you don't want people to risk their lives thinking, well, he does it. Well, I think I'm in physically better shape. Physical shape has nothing to do with it. The gear you have can have nothing to do with it. Your experience may have nothing to do with it. It's just like sometimes when your time's due and you're out there the wrong day, you drank, you ate the wrong food, you dried up. Just certain things happen, and then everything falls apart for you. There's times Randy and I know both of us have been deep in the mountains, and there was one particular time we ran out of water. We lost some of the last water. Randy couldn't find the water to dig up. This is a very short version of a long story, but the gallon of water that we had buried at the trailhead, snakes and tarantulas. Snakes stay out in the shade and stay out of the way when it's really hot. Tarantulas are actually very cool to see because you don't see them very often. But anyways, Randy couldn't find the water we needed, and we were coming out, and I'll never forget, we were kind of had hit the trail. Hey, Alan, how's it going? And these people had Jack Carlson's book, and they're going through it, and they have all this water, and we're out of water, and we're just dragging our butts out of the mountains back to the parking lot. And we probably got a mile or so to go. And these people are just drinking up cold, ice cold water, talking and chatting and thanking us and stuff, and we're just sitting there just dead. And we made it out, but it was just hilarious. Yeah, we're sitting there, and these people probably thought, look at those guys, man. They didn't bring enough water. They look totally burned out. Now, the fact that we were off trail almost the entire day, 90% of the day, and we probably were in places that most people will never go up in the mountains, off trail and up through these cracks and crevices in the canyons. Things that people wouldn't understand or even dare do, but I don't. That's one of those memories you can't forget. Is like coming out and losing the water early in the day, and then realizing at a certain point, wow, yeah, we still got to get out. So if you move there from, okay, you guys are having an alternative conversation. There we go. Anyhow, that's it with Randy Wright. Didn't see Frank or Woody or Deleel or Magnuson, and I will talk to Randy because maybe Randy will want to kind of split screen this with me sometime. I'll talk to him. Randy, we'll talk about it and see if you're comfortable with it. I never want to bring someone like you that I know and talk about some stories, some trips, and some stuff or anything we've done unless you're comfortable with it, because I know some people get totally not comfortable and then they go, well, that looks stupid. And you never want anyone to look stupid, especially someone as smart and knows what they're talking about and stuff, and then they're just not prepared for it and all that. So, hey, dude, that's definitely something. If nothing else, we can do this. Maybe that'll get you kind of like off the couch and out of the living room and put the kids to bed and let them sleep in, and then you come up in the mountains with me and Frank and kind of go out and have a good time. So, I think I would die in the desert. And I am in Georgia and love the heat. Yeah, the desert, well, what it does out here, I think for a lot of people is it saps you. And I always use the reference, it's like being in an oven. But the whole oven thing is when you get out there, it just dries you out. There's no moisture. People sit there, it's 100 degrees, it's 90% humidity, and I'm sweating. Yeah, but you're drinking, you're sweating. This sweat allows your body to cool. What happens in the desert is you're not sweating, it's evaporating as quick as you can sweat, or you can't sweat anymore if your body starts to shut down and your body overheats completely, and there's no way to cool yourself. I mean, you can't really just find any way to get your body temperature to cool down. Cooked an egg in the backyard in Phoenix, 120 in the shade. Yeah, but a lot of people can hike and do physical activity. A lot of people work in the sun in the summertime. Done it most of my life. And it's not something, you have to know your limitations and know when I'm in trouble. And if you do know when to take that break or whatever. I've seen a lot of guys, believe it or not, they seem to be fine and they're functioning all day, and then they decide, well, I'm going to go use the bathroom, and they go use one of the J. Johns, and they lock themselves in that sweat box for 15 minutes. They come out, and literally it's just their body temperature shot up. They hit that dry heat again. It just hits them, boom, and then they're just cooked and done for the day. Hello, Wayne. Hey, Susie. So thank you for joining. So, the heat's kind of a different thing. I don't know why it works for some people. I've seen people come from back east and work and adjust to it, and over time they've been able to work plenty fine. I've seen people that have been in high humidity, high heat types areas that you think will kind of adjust over time, and they just never get it. Those people usually move away after a short period of time. When we were filming, I remember all the Hollywood people went out and put on suntan oil and stuff came out, and then within the day or so, everybody was bright red, and they were overheating, and they weren't coming out to the set, and some people weren't coming out anymore because they were sick, and big floppy hats became the fad, and because everybody suddenly realized, oh, it's not like sitting out by the pool. We're out here in the mountains. You're exposed all day in the sun. And there's a difference between sun tanning at the pool and being in the mountains, and then that high heat hitting you, drying you out, sucking it out of you. You're doing physical activity. You're on your feet all the day. The story I always like to tell is, one of the early times we were filming, we're walking down and we're walking through. We were heading east out of the Barkley Basin. And I was like, we would, when you're filming, you got to move all the cameras constantly. So we have the horses and everything. The horses were breaking loose. Arizona's so nice in the fall. Arizona's nice all year round. It's hot. But the horses would break loose, and they're made so if a horse goes to fall down. Thank you for enjoying the episode, Susie. If a horse goes to go down, he breaks loose from the other horses because the horses constantly lose their footing and things happen. So it's meant so they don't get themselves tied up with each other or any problems. So horses are pitching down, things are happening, they need to reset cameras. So as they're doing this, we're stopping seems like 3 to 5 minutes, and then they're resetting and we're kind of backing up a little bit and starting again. So it can take you hours to make a mile. And then they finally eventually just kind of turn things loose and everybody gets to move along because they think they have everything they have. Till someone says something, Woody will say something about something to Frank, and they'll overhear it because we're all mic'd up and they can hear us in their earpieces. And oh, that sounded great, Woody. Well, let's back it up and talk about that again. Okay, let's take it, don't say anything more. Let's just talk about it and try to naturally have that conversation again. So we stop again, and then we start going through that same process. Well, the problem is you're just sitting there baking in the sun. And we filmed during the height of monsoon in end of July in through August and September into October for the pilot and the series. So it's the hottest time of the year, and Frank's from that Berg, how he handled the heat. Frank does pretty good. It wore him through by the end of filming, but he's kind of skinny, and he understood. You got to wear a wide brim hat. You got to kind of keep the sun off of you. And we would stop and pause, and everybody's standing there, and they're petting the horse, and they're standing here, and they're doing this, and they're sitting there talking, and drinking some water, and talking, and they look over, and I think Magnuson or Deleel said something, oh, what are you, tired already? Because I was sitting under some creosote. I found a little shady spot, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, no, just, we're not moving, we're not doing anything, I'm just going to sit and find some shade. Well, as the hours pass, you start seeing more of a gathering of people with me each time we stop. Because that's what I did. Every time we stop, we pause. Even though I had, loose clothing on and everything to kind of try to keep me cool and aired out, and I had a wide brim hat. As soon as we stopped, and I knew it was going to be a few minutes, last Friday, what channel? It's YouTube. Look, channel Legend of the Superstition Mountains. But I would head for any particular shade I would have. Knock the snakes out of the brush, go sit down and wait till they said second time they need me. If they said the first time, I knew I still had time. But they would do that. I would get up and I would go back and get ready to go. Otherwise, I sat my butt down and I sat in the shade, and I spent specific amount of time in the shade because that was the best thing possible. And yet I watched everybody wear out. Magnuson and Deleel got hit by it. Woody, because I don't think they're just used to that type of attitude. Is, hey, in the desert, when you take a break, use the shade you can find. And later, as we film the show, you would find that more and more, as everyone would look and suddenly realize when it was time to take a break or stop for a minute, everybody looked for every little piece of shade. And if you had to stand up to find a little shade in a crevice, you just stood up and found your shade. But that was became a bigger and bigger deal. People learned. That's how people survive. But there was a big part of that, but it can happen to anybody. I mean, everybody has their day where they get kind of run down. I know particular for us was that waterfall when we climbed that and spent all that time, because we were doing the same process we did walking, but climbing that waterfall, which meant there's times you go 3-4 feet, you stop, and it was the sun was hitting the rock, and we were just no shade for hours, stuck on the open faces of rock, just sitting there waiting. So you drink a bunch of water and you'd sit there and pour it over you. And then we'd start to film again. They say, stop. Okay, Magnuson, can you move back down? We need to get this shot in frame. And they had, they had cameramen all over the canyon around us, and it was just draining. By the time we got halfway through, we changed our plan of attack on filming. We were going to go a certain route, and we changed it for a much easier route because everybody had just got worn down. And what was happening, I was up front and pulling up gear, and we were helping pull guys up and push guys up, especially Woody, and it just basically took everything out of everyone. And I won't get into what happened to some of them after we got to the top, but once we got to the top, people weren't in very good shape, and some of the crew were a bit done. They even complained to us at one point because of the amount of water we were drinking, is they were not going to bring as much water, and we had to carry our water. And I kind of spouted off a bit about like that. If you're gonna let us hike up the waterfall in the wrong time of day, that's fine, but don't stop us and let us sit there as well. We must have consumed tens of gallons of water going up that thing. Like I said, you just couldn't even sweat. As soon as you drank it, it was like it was gone in your system. We were very fortunate that no one, and I think that day took its toll on Woody, and Woody never recovered fully the rest of the show from that. I think it really, really beat him down. So that's, for anybody, that it happens to everybody. And I know I was definitely concerned about everyone, checking on everyone. And there was a couple people I spoke to because I realized they were pretty much almost done. And I will give credit to Frank. Frank hung in there towards the very end of filming. Frank always was behind me talking. And I knew Frank was about done, and the weeks of filming had done him in, and the heat had finally wore him down, because Frank just wasn't talking. And you could make fun of him for not talking, saying, "Why are you getting old there, back there, Frank?" And you knew it got him because he just wouldn't even say anything. So it got to everybody because it was a lot of heat, man. It's only so many days. I worked in it. It didn't bother me as much. I was able to kind of effectively know how to recover each night and so forth and all that. But for them, I think day after day after day, you can hardcore fans, but day after day, it's just rough. And there's a lot of people out there, sit there and look at that particular group of people and sit there. You know what? The 5 of us made it 6 weeks, man. Heat of the summer, in the monsoon, in the desert, every day out there in the heat. And even days we decided not to go in the mountains film, we were standing in the desert doing interviews and filming. There was no such thing as air conditioning unless we piled in my truck. And there were days, I will admit, we were filming on a site doing interviews, and literally everybody was dead quiet because we would all pile in my truck, and I would start the truck and run the truck with the AC on full blast, and we would lay in there just to get our body temperatures down, because it was that bad. Because literally by the time the sun comes up, it's 90, 95, 100 degrees, and we went till the end of the day, and it was just, there's just no cool off. By the time you cool off, you just feel sick about things. I think we all lost a little weight. I only lost 2 pounds filming. Believe it or not, I only lost 2 pounds filming. But I worked in it, and I spent most of my life working in the sun, so I think that was a big part too. You carry the weight you carry, and you eat and whatever you do, but I don't know what the others, if they really, how much it affected them either, but we did pretty good on that. And I don't think Deleel didn't have a lot of body weight, and he might have lost some weight, so we'll have to ask him sometime about that. Anyhow, next Friday will be the next episode, continuing from where we left off, continuing out that part. And like I said, we're doing the 2 parts. Kind of, you'll see things sometimes it's like an A and a B go together, or for 2 episodes. Then you'll see an episode maybe might be a little bit longer and stretches out, but kind of like represents another time. Sometimes we might take a trip that lasted a day or 2 and put things together in framework to make it seem, you might be looking at it and going, "Oh, it's just a day," or "They spent the day out there." Lost 2 pounds hearing about it. I think my mouth got dry talking about it. Just remembering how bad that was. Getting after it again. Thank you. But, yeah, the next episode will be that. But we won't always... We might put a couple different episodes together, and you won't realize it. You might realize what's going on. of that these were separate incidents. I kind of like that when it was kind of the Woody thing in me. I like that bounce back. The one thing you won't see us doing, even though we will a little, is the recapping, because people sometimes want, and one thing I hear about is not only the history but kind of explaining why we're doing something. I don't want to get into the whole recap every week or showing previously seen next week on. I'm not digging that. That's not my style, but I do want to make sure everybody's following and understands a little bit about that. So like what this episode was, and I think it was very clear, and people can't always, mention the deal, whether or not that worked. As I was trying to mention, we wanted to get a perspective. It's not about drones. It's about when it's your physical eyes and you're hearing things, and when you're standing up there and you're up there, you see things differently. You can run a drone over something and we'll see, smell, just pick up different things. We knew kind of what we were walking into, but we wanted to kind of feel it and get the feel of it. And with a drone, I don't think I ever get that. I never get, with photographs and stuff, I'll look over stuff, and if I see something I'm interested, I still go back, and then I have to have feet on the ground. So I think that's always going to be something in the way we are. The drone guy, I think I see it in certain aspects if there's something you can physically see. When you're looking for something that might be 100, 150 years or more. What's up, Eric? The vegetation, everything's over it. You don't see anything anymore from the sky. Circle stone you can kind of make out, but there's plenty of sites. I know there's ruins all through the mountains, and I've looked at them through Google Earth and satellite photos, and I can't see them. I know they're physically there. I know they're still there, but you can't see them. The medicine wheels, there's 2 or 3 that I know of in the mountains that still exist. The one we filmed is gone. Thank you to that person. And we won't reveal, or we won't film any of the others now because of that. But the point being, again, I can't see any of them from satellite imagery. Now they're there, and I could take you physically there, and you'd look at it and say, huh. And the stones aren't that small, but they should be able to show somehow some sort of framework, some sort of outline. So I don't know what it is, but sometimes things that are very physically there don't show up, and that causes me to say you could miss so much. So you just, hey James, what's up? So it's, well, I don't even know if you hear you. I've been trying to not do that anymore. So you wait till the person's loaded in. So hey James, cousin James out there, hey, what's up? But you try to make sure you put as much, feet on the ground and do what you have to do when you can do it. I have no idea where we are in time because I lose my clock because of this. I don't know what we're doing. I didn't see Frank. We got to get Frank out of the bath. 4:20?
What?
What?
How the heck did you get 420?
I don't know. I saw 4 fingers and 2 fingers.
352.
Oh, 352. Where the heck? Yeah, that wasn't even close. Okay. Well, so we almost did our hour, and I've tried. I know I didn't have a 52 minutes, so we didn't have a lot of questions and stuff, but I think it was a good talk doing all this. We will be putting more history in. We'll be talking about Jacob Waltz, different types of maps out there. There will be things that people won't particularly like and kind of sit back, but I think it's going to cause them to kind of go, it'll be a very valid point. I think people are going to be, I don't think it's controversial. I think it's just the honest truth. And people are going to start, if you pay attention to all this, and 420, well, I don't know, it seems like I've been here forever. You get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, you get tired, and then you think things are moving far faster than they are. Anyhow, God, where was I, Trevor? Do you even listen to what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What was I talking about?
I don't remember.
He wasn't paying attention. So, anyhow.
Wake up early in the morning.
I wake up, but that was about me being tired and doing the 420 thing. I'm talking about the subject matter I was discussing.
I don't know, you stopped when you asked what time it was.
I know what it was. Oh, shame about the medicine wheel. But anyhow, as far as things are concerned, yeah, see, you're getting old and then you keep forgetting what you're talking about and all. But, it's the heat. It's cooked my brains finally. But, yeah, we're kind of, now I got a fly in here. Where'd the fly come from? But again, like I was saying, we're doing these episodes. We want to incorporate things in, but we want to kind of like make sure we point out the difference. It's exciting hearing everything I want to watch. 652 in these. We want people to understand is there's a thing that sells books, the things they put in programs to make them exciting. I was very unhappy with History Channel for a number of things that were the way they were presented, because I wanted things presented better. I wanted things presented more honestly and what we have documented. I would say most of what you think about the Lost Dutchman Mine is based on opinion and speculation and not documentation. And that goes for like probably 95% of the people that have heard about the Lost Dutchman Mine. And that's a shame, because I think it does an injustice to all the people who were the searchers and the people involved. And it's kind of disgraceful that we don't, notice the history. This isn't Oak Island where there's a few old stories that are told and they don't have any physical evidence of anything. This is a completely different thing, involved very, very real people that we even have people, that knew some of the people involved that are still alive today. And, there's not a lot of them and we're losing those people, but it's far more recent and we know so much more about it, and to speculate and just make a myth out of it, and then it is in some way, and fortunately Jacob Waltz, Julia Thomas, the Petrashes, so many of these people, those families, did not have any direct descendants, because it's very hurtful, some of the things that have been said and done and concerning those families, because it literally was, there's no one to defend you and no one here to stand up for you, so we're just going to literally say whatever we want and smash you, and because we want to be right with whatever we made up. So this is how we're going to deal with this, and I want to deal with that a little bit. So we will be dealing with those things in episodes, and then we'll talk about it a little bit here, because I know there's a lot of people that come in here. But please watch everything on YouTube. We will see if we can get everything up on Facebook, and if you see it on Facebook, it'll be episode 1 S3, and it's called Pride Goeth Before the Fall. And you catch that next Friday at 10 a.m. Arizona time. We will have the second episode of this next 12 or whatever we decide to run, and kind of following up with that, leading off of that. So I want to thank everybody that jumped in. They should have been working for you. You know what? The way you start something and the way someone comes in and how everything all works out, it just kind of, you learn, and one thing I want to always say, I don't know what I did there. I made some kind of circle on the screen. They should have been working for you. Everything that we've been able to do here, and I keep moving this thing. I'm not even going to touch it so I don't break anything. But everything we've been able to accomplish here, and I give Trevor tons of credit, because Trevor's done a great job of handling things, the editing, the filming, and kind of everything he's done and everything. But I want to make a point that Russell Muth and, Christian, I forgot, Horner, and, Jesse Hayes, and Noah Mathers, and Glenn Evans, and Ian McLaughlin, and Chris Rabb, and all these great people we worked, Pete Sample, and all these guys that we worked with, Mona Vasilou, but all these people you learned things from. Bill Costanzo. I would ask them questions and stuff as we were filming. Why do we do it that way? Why do we do it this way? And they always answered me, and that was a huge deal, because it made this possible and made this actually work. It benefited Trevor, interested Trevor, allowed Trevor to really get into this and want to do it as well. So it's all important and wrapped into one. So for all, you can say what you want of history, but History Channel A&E gave me a shot. Go Lucky gave us a shot. All the contractors and people they hired in to do the filming, production, and everything, those guys came in. Those guys I learned so much from, and I learned a lot about the business I don't like, that I won't fall into, but I learned a lot about how these guys do things, and things I can't even possibly attempt to do now, but things we can do. But the greater part of it is these guys have just done so much to allow Frank and myself to learn from the process, that we're able to do this, which means we don't do, really stupid looking, and we don't try to blow it out of proportion either. We don't need screens and lights and anything like that. We realize, let's take what they do, what we learned, and let's minimize this part of it, and let's go do it. And I think it really works well. I will say one thing. Last season there is footage we did with iPhones because of its HD qualities, and we're getting Jack's down here panting under me, but there are times we had shots of the mountains that I will put up against any program on cable television or any television. I think anybody would agree is we had some great shots of areas and some great things we were able to capture. Pure luck maybe in some ways, but it shows you the capability is there, and it's just about getting back in the mountains. And whether we do it purely as reality off the cuff or however we do this, you know, that is what it is. The kid is awesome. Yeah, well, we don't say that because then he reads it and then he's asked for money and more camera gear, and that causes problems. So, but he's, you know, he's off there. Maybe I'll have him on as a guest sometime. Maybe not. I've had him actually do stuff, and he's talked about stuff. So, anyways, thank you everybody once for all. Hi, Jax. Jax with a KS, and he's off playing with Loki. Why are you laughing? He is playing with Loki. Boys. Stop that, boys. Okay, anyhow, so thank you, everybody. And yeah, we will sometime in one of these episodes, and maybe next week, the week after, we'll come in. Sorry, it's okay. It's Jackson with a K with no C. But we will come in and we'll do something musical or something. I'm still trying to find the Wayne's World hat. Thanks, Wayne. It's nice to be able to finally watch some. It's cool, Randy, man. You can always watch this stuff after we do it and stuff. But we'll have to get together and find out a Thursday afternoon, 3 to 4, that you're going to be free. We'll have you come on and talk some stories and trade some stuff and tell people about how stupid we were in the mountains, because that will be fun. Thank you. No problem, Gerard. But for me and Frank and Woody and Eric and hey, you know, even Randy Wright, who kind of joined us kind of surreptitiously through the median and all, but that was all very cool and good, buddy. That was a dog sliding through here on the carpet. I'm like in the path. He will scold you 3 times before you get it right. Yeah. Anyhow, thank you, everybody, and for everything and all that, and everybody kind of joining in with us. Good deal. I'm going to get out of here because it's been a long, hot day. I wasn't feeling so hot earlier, so I'm going to just chill it the rest of the evening. And thank you for joining in. Thank you for watching the episodes. Catch the rest of, you know, everything. YouTube, the episode 1. Catch the other ones if you haven't. We got everything loaded up there with the, you know, trailers and previews of season 1 on History Channel and everything else. So, okay. Everybody enjoy. Take care. We will catch you later. Your eyes look tired. Get some rest. See? I just got done telling you I'm tired. All right. Everybody have a good one. Good night. Later. I'm out of here.